who knew people would have so many feelings about this new format? I didn't even realize that so many of you were actually watching the conversation. So many new faces in the comments, and that gets a huge yay for me. But babe, before we get on with today's Unplugged, I want to take a moment of silence to remember those we've lost. Just kidding. They're gonna watch it anyway.
They're gonna make burner accounts just to watch.
And why wouldn't you watch?
Yeah.
Not only are you getting more of this, which you say you absolutely love,
yeah.
but your questions from the last review are getting answered. How is that not a win-win?
Win-win.
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 Anyway. What you've been waiting for, my thoughts on the EVERSOLO.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Yeah, we reviewed the EVERSOLO DMP-A8. Lots of opinions.
A few.
From the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, so hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't watched that review, we'll link to it somewhere in the corners.
One of those.
You know, it'll pop up. Go check it out and then come back and enjoy this episode of Unplugged. Okay. About the EVERSOLO.
Okay.
Guess what?
What?
It works.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah.
I think it looks nice. But you know what? I'm proud of EVERSOLO. They made a well-built product, and they didn't even have to use a display that they found in an old Texas Instruments parts bin. I am impressed.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice piece and very well built. And you only have to kind of be in its presence for a few minutes to realize that. Not only from a feature and performance standpoint, I believe the bar has been raised, but in terms of build quality, I know a lot of people in the comments were saying that, oh, I prefer HIFI Rose. If HIFI Rose is a brand that you hold in high esteem because their build quality is pretty impeccable, at least visually, casework, aluminum, and all of that, the EVERSOLO hangs. It absolutely hangs. So this
you know
is
what
good.
though?
Yeah.
The one thing that the EVERSOLO does that the HIFI Rose didn't.
What's that?
It works.
It works. Yeah. Yeah. We've had, I think, 3 HIFI Rose streamers sent to us for review evaluation, and we have never been able to bring you our actual thoughts. First one would not come out of, I want to say, Chinese language or character under any circumstances. It just would not switch out of that language. So obviously we have to send it back. The second one came to us and the screen, touch screen, which is the only way to really operate it, didn't work at all.
Well, it wasn't it broken?
No, that was the third one.
Oh, okay.
The third one, the touchscreen didn't work, but it didn't really matter because it was shattered like a windshield on a highway. And so I kind of think that maybe, at least with the streamers, for some reason, there might be a QC issue because all 3 went out the door like this. And so that is why some of you asking, like, oh, what about HIFI Rose? I'm like, I don't know, because none of them have worked.
Back to the EVERSOLO. I actually preferred the EVERSOLO sound over both the Cambridge and the Class A. The EVERSOLO, at least what I heard, doesn't really change the sound of your speakers, which is what I thought audiophiles wanted.
You would think.
But I guess when you say you like it over something that costs a lot more, like the Class A, then they change their minds. I don't know. It's weird when they do that.
It's weird.
It makes it really hard to know what it is they really think or want.
Yeah.
But one last thing I saw come up a couple of times about the sound signature of the EVERSOLO. I mean, who out there is calling the EVERSOLO warm? And are they serious?
Yeah, that one confused me too. In A being between the Cambridge CXN 100, not to bring up that if some of you are still sore at me for that one, just A being just the streamer DAC possibilities of both products and letting the Yamaha handle the amplification and preamp duties. I would say that the Cambridge is going to be the warmer of the 2. Yeah, I wouldn't I don't think I'd classify EVERSOLO as warm. I think it's neutral. If other people think it's warm, that's fine. That's fine. It's just not a word I would use to describe it.
Oh, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I would not call this warm. I don't think it's bright. It seems to me very transparent to the source,
Yeah.
which again, I thought is what you would want in a DAC. I don't think it's thin. There's been a few people that have, suggested that it's thin or harsh.
Yeah.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, everyone hears and listens a little bit differently.
Sure.
So without being in everybody's room and knowing how you've got your system set up, or it's very difficult to say, oh, you're right, I'm wrong, or vice versa.
Yeah.
If that's how you feel about it at the end of the day, then congratulations, you found out that it's not the product for you.
Exactly.
But, I mean, I would classify the Cambridge CXN100 more as having a warm quality.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing about NAME, like the NAME 222 or the Unity Atom. Like they have a little bit more of a je ne sais quoi that might lead someone to believe that it's a warmer or softer, dare I say it, oh God, analog sound. Whereas, the EVERSOLO reminded me a lot of the Auralic Altair, where it was like, wow,
Yeah.
I am hearing every little thing, and it's separated. Like, it's not just that, the singer-songwriter is in the front and like the guitar's a little bit off to the right or left. It is like, no, they are, get out the ruler, because I'm thinking they're about 4 feet back. That's the level of, I think, appreciable detail. I know you don't like that word, appreciable.
I don't.
Detail that I believe is more apparent through the A8, that separation, that clarity, that focus. Whereas, like the NAME or the Cambridge or any number of other DACs, DAC Magic for that matter, I think they kind of have the little softer edges, and that can be really good. That can be nice, especially if you're battling, say, a bright speaker or you're battling a reflective room. You may lean towards that as being something that you want, but if you're trying to get at the, oh my God, cringe, artist's intent, whatever that is, I would say that the EVERSOLO is probably going to get you closer.
Well, I will let you know that at least one person agrees with you, Andrew.
Really?
Yeah.
One?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Julius11 says that they bought the A8 a couple of months ago. And so far, the EVERSOLO A8 is my favorite hi-fi component I have owned in 20 years in this hobby.
Same. Hold on. Top five. But same.
Anyway, that's all the compliments you're going to get today, Robinson. So
It's gonna have to fuel me.
it's going to have to fuel
I'm gonna
you.
have to run on the one.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So
Hit me with it.
time for viewer questions and comments.
Okay. Yeah,
All
I
right?
like this. I do like this.
Yeah. So lots of questions about ROON. What is it, and why should I be mad at it?
How best to describe ROON? You know what ROON is? ROON is, I'm going to call it a software, a software package that kind of like a streamer, like the EVERSOLO, enables you to kind of group all of your services, all of your locally stored music into one cohesive platform, interface. Do you need ROON to enjoy music at a high level? Let's be honest, you don't. Because ROON is not only an additional cost, and it's not a small one, but you still have to subscribe to all of these other streaming services. ROON just kind of puts a real nice skin on it. Maybe you have multiple subscriptions, like maybe you have a Spotify and an Amazon and, as well as have a hard drive connected to your network, or you have network attached storage, or a NAS. With music that you've ripped throughout the years, you can point ROON to grab everything from all of those sources, and ROON will look cohesive regardless of where it's pulling the music from. That's cool, but that is a cost, and you still have the cost of all of the other ancillary subscriptions. So do you need that? You don't. Is it nice? Sure. It looks great on an iPad, looks great on a laptop, looks great on a phone, but it's not necessary to have. I used to have a ROON subscription back when I was trying to decide, and this was pre-Apple Music, back when I was trying to decide, like, which service am I honestly going to use? So I have played with it. I'm not the most up-to-date with it. And honestly, nothing against ROON. It's just one of those things where I was kind of like, I don't really use this all that much. And so, you know.
Okay. Well, Brain Guy NYC 8729 was a little bit unclear. You know, did I miss it? Is it ROON ready? And I did a little of my own research according to the internet.
Yeah. EVERSOLO. Yeah.
ROON ready, Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect, DLNA, and AirPlay are supported by the DMP-A8.
Okay.
But this information seems to be in conflict because according to some of our viewers, like Bogdan Ozaris.
So glad you're having to pronounce these names and not me.
Yeah. It says not yet, but there are many devices waiting for ROON certification still.
Oh, okay.
Now, Zoomerland says that love my A8 I received 2 months ago. Good break-in was about 100 hours. Oh my God, we could do a whole video on that.
We have.
I agree with Andrew on his review. Oh, sorry, you do get one more compliment. That last firmware update did not make it ROON ready. This person emailed with EVERSOLO's customer support.
Yeah.
And apparently ROON will not get to the A8 for several weeks.
Okay.
If you use ROON, it will only AirPlay at AC3 format.
Fine.
Whatever that is. I use Tidal Connect, and the DMP-A8 rocks the sound. Okay, so basically that person ends, the box is incredible value, just buy it. Well, keeping with the streaming discussion, there were a couple of questions. Bill the Goat Boy 1330 would love more of an exploration of how this brings Apple Music high-res into a hi-fi system.
Okay.
And then Mr. Positronia says, what? No Spotify Connect? And then Pegasus 646 says, I have a question. Using Apple Music app, is it possible to stream high-res lossless music?
So EVERSOLO supports quite a few native interactions with various streaming services, as well as locally stored music protocols. Where it doesn't, like for example, I'm not going to find Apple Music in the EVERSOLO app in the same place I would find, say, Tidal. That said, if I go into the app dashboard of the EVERSOLO, you can download Apple Music into its app functionality, in which case you would interact with Apple, including the settings of how to activate the higher res, bit rates and whatnot, the exact same way that you do, say, on your laptop. And then if you want to interact with them on your phone or, whatever device to control, you would then go into the cast feature inside the EVERSOLO app, and then you just interact with it like it was native. And I believe that's the workaround for Spotify as well. I'm not a Spotify customer. Do not quote me on that, but I believe that's how you also do Spotify.
Yeah, according to the Zydo forum, Zydo, I don't know. Anyway, that Spotify is not an integrated service and should be used in the cast mode or via Spotify Connect.
Okay.
So it can work.
Yeah, everything will, hold on, don't want to say everything because someone's going to be like, well, actually, it will work with most things. It's just there may be an extra step or two involved, or you're going to end up using the cast functionality, which in my humble opinion, with the EVERSOLO specifically, I absolutely love, because the cast functionality really does put, it's kind of like being able to listen with the A8 right in your lap, because anything that you can possibly do by manually touching the screen physically is now able to be done one for one on your phone or tablet, whatever. That's really cool.
I think we can move on to the next question.
All right. God, I love this format. This is fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. Okay, so there were a few people who were a little confused by your use of the term HDMI instead of IS2. Do you even know what IBIS is? If you know that reference,
no one watching this probably knows that.
Anyway,
reference.
Explain yourself because the internet is upset.
Okay. In the video, I said that there is an HDMI port in the digital output section, and that is not correct. It is an HDMI style connection, but it is not an HDMI out, which has led many people to think or believe that you're going to be able to pass video out of the A8 to, say, a television and see your glorious cover art, or maybe even video itself. And that's not possible here. It is an IIS or I2S, or the reason this is very confusing is it is a data connection that up until recently used to be handled by other digital interface type connections, like, say, for instance, an RJ45 port. I've even seen it done as a DVI, DVI looking port. And now we're using a different pin connection with an HDMI looking connection to basically transmit digital data streams from one device to another. Other brands using the more HDMI or IIS or I2S connections are like PS Audio. What you need to know is it's not standardized right now. There doesn't appear to be a standard, which is why you'll see this type of a connection using an HDMI style port. You'll go to another equally capable DAC and it'll be, something else. In fact, I think I was on Hi-Fi Rose's website not too long ago, and they were using a DVI connection. It's weird. You're free to now Google I2S and all of that and get into the nitty-gritty of like what it's trying to do, but it is not an HDMI port in the way that I think when people say HDMI, they're thinking. So I apologize. That's on me. I should have taken the time to put a sentence or two in the review to explain that a little bit better. And that's my fault. That's my fault, but that's what it is.
Okay. Well, I think you've redeemed yourself.
Oh God, I hope so.
But really quick, Boba2783.
Yeah.
And maybe you've already answered this, but the question is in regards to the HDMI, does it have a 2.1 pass-through that allows for PS5 features like 120 hertz VRR?
Oh,
does it stream bit perfect high-res Cobuzz services?
So this, again, the HDMI input is EARC compliant for audio pass-through only. And it is stereo. You're not going to get video passing through to the EVERSOLO, and you're not going to send video out of the EVERSOLO that I'm aware of. Because we had this thing connected to our X90L Sony, as well as the TCL 98-inch, and it pulls the audio down fine. With the TCL, I did have to set the TCL to stereo output PCM through HDMI, whereas the Sony, I could leave it in auto, whatever the default auto audio setting was, and it just, downsampled or downmixed from there, and it all worked. But this is not a device for home theater. This is not a device for gaming. This is, while it has HDMI, that HDMI functionality is going to be more for convenience and to allow it to be connected to a television so that if you stream, you have your 2-channel system, but you also have a TV for occasional 2.0 or 2.1 movie watching, it will enable that as well. But now that I've said the term home theater, I got a DM on Instagram about this product. Someone wanted to know how they integrate this with an AV receiver, specifically something like a Sony 7000 ES, I believe it was. In this instance, you would not you wouldn't use the A8's preamp functionality. You would leave it in its fixed volume mode and rely on it as a streamer and a DAC, in which case then you would be taking the analog audio output of the A8 into one of the analog inputs of a 7000 ES. You could aux, CD, whatever one you want. That's how I would recommend using this. But this is not a device that's going to like raise the bar of your home theater performance. It could raise the bar of your 2-channel enjoyment through an AVR, but it's not for home theater use.
Okay, well that leads me into another line of questions, which are very similar.
Okay.
Like, why not just use an AVR? I know you got a DM, but also Master of Puppets, BS, had a similar question. Do I need this equipment if I own an Onkyo RZ50 receiver? If yes, please help me understand why and how this would add value.
If you have a modern day AVR that has streaming capability, again, like Music Cast, you know what I mean, right? And you're happy with it and it's supplying you with the music that you like and you find the quality to be very good. Do you need a device like this or any device that may be very popular right now? The answer is very simply no, you don't. Where this kind of comes into play is going to be one of two ways. One, if you're using the built-in app functionality, streaming functionality of an AVR, and you're not happy with it, like for whatever reason, you just don't think it sounds very good, then a device like the A8, or probably more specifically, the less expensive A6, also from EVERSOLO, comes into play. But the DACs, the isolation of their components and the analog output stages of those products could potentially result in the sensation of better sound quality. But like I just said about the 7000, in that instance, you're not using the preamp functionality of the A8 or the A6. You would leave them in their fixed mode, but you would rely on their DAC and having their streamer go through their DAC internally and then output analog to your receiver, put your receiver in like a direct mode, pure direct mode, something that's not artificially changing the sound, would be the best way to connect something like this to a home theater receiver for potential better 2-channel playback when streaming.
DownHuman74 has another similar question.
Okay.
How are these dedicated music streamers any better than, say, a Shield TV running Plex or Jellyfin? I don't even know what that is. With full bandwidth into a traditional AVR, you don't have to worry about onboard DACs since the connection is straight digital, and you can't really ask for better than your actual TV in terms of displaying metadata and high-res artwork. Plus, you're already using a decent remote to control everything. I mean, I look at these devices, they're definitely nice looking, and I can easily see them in my EC. I don't know what that's supposed to be.
Entertainment center?
Maybe. But I feel like I already have this functionality in a potentially better and simpler incarnation.
You know, I can't disagree with you. I can't, and I won't. You've identified yet another way to go about doing this. And yes, you can do it at a high level. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, no, you absolutely have to do this in order to achieve the end result. That's not true. That's not true. This is just another way to go about solving the problem, but you have outlined a perfectly acceptable way to solve the same problem. And it kind of just, for me, the reason why I don't care so much about every single little DAC that comes out, and the reason why I ultimately purchased the A8 for myself, was not because of necessarily its streaming capability or necessarily even its DAC. I wanted it because I was on the market for a strict 2-channel preamp that had HDMI functionality that would enable me to leave my TV connected, allow me to enjoy my Apple TV, but give me the conveniences of being able to still test 2-channel components while at night wanting to just enjoy a TV show or a movie. And those are actually really hard to come by. Now, the fact that the A8 does that, as well as can be a DAC for other things that I might test in the future and does it at a high level, and its streaming functionality is among the best I've ever seen, that for me was icing on the cake, because I was considering 2-channel preamps like the Class A that retail for 10 grand. And I mean, I'll make that investment in the channel, but if I don't have to because there's something that's as good or better in this case, according to me, I'm happy. I'm happy. So do you need it though? The answer to that is always no, you know, because the A8 is not permanently hooked up in our system either. When I'm reviewing a receiver or something, like I often just rely on an Apple TV 4K. You know, into a receiver, or like a Dune player with my whole movie library ripped to it, you know? And so you've pointed out the elephant in the room when it comes to a lot of home theater and hi-fi topics, and that is there is mad redundancy occurring up and down the signal chain. And at some point, you have to identify how you want to interact with your system for you, and then block out all of the noise.
I want to end this episode of Unplugged with a question that there were a lot of similar versions of this question.
Oh boy.
About how the A6 Master Edition compares to the A8. Now, we don't have the Master's Edition. I guess
No.
ours is the Pores version.
Yeah, we have the regular A6.
But there are, like, for example, the Myth of Normal.
Mm-hmm. That's the screen name?
Yes.
Okay, Myth of Normal.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's catchy.
Anyhow, this person would like to know, how you would compare the two of the Master Edition, and does the A6 have the same CD rip function?
Well, I can't tell you how I would compare the two, because like Kristi just said, we don't have the Master Edition. We have the A6, and we have the A8, and we have the Z8, which is just a DAC. So I don't know. Does the A6 have the CD rip function? You know, I haven't looked into that. I don't know. While I'm editing this, I'll put a card right here if it does or not, because I don't know right now in real time, but I'll know in a minute.
Again, if you did not watch the EVERSOLO review, at the very least, now that you're done here,
you can go back
you
and
can
watch
watch
that.
it,
Yeah.
so that maybe all of this will make a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
But we're having a lot of fun with this new format.
Oh, absolutely. Love
I know that it's not for everybody, but I hope that it's in time you will get used to it.
Yeah.
Kind of like you did when I first started.
Yeah, when you
saying-
started contributing, everyone's like, oh, I could do without that. And now all of a sudden you're like, Andrew, no disrespect, but I just skip right past what you say and I go to Kristi. So just give it time, guys. As with anything, you know, change is scary, but it can also be a good thing. So.
Oh, and we'll see you on Sunday. We have a really
fun,
one
of the OG.
We have a really fun review for you.
Yeah, so we'll see you on Sunday. But thank you so much for watching this video. And until next time, take care.